Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would do kind of a different voiceover. For those of you who don't know, my little character Demoji, he has an entire world built around him. I do a lot of world building. There's a lot of lore and stories and things like that. And we actually have two podcasts where I talk about the lore and everything. And I thought I would share a story with you guys. So just for some context, Demoji is a demon from the underworld, and his realm is called the Seven Realms of Septima. And he went to a school called Emberforge University in the underworld. It's kind of like our version of Hogwarts. And when he was at school, there was an incident that happened involving a bad demon from another realm. His name is Mauserath, and he basically broke in to the school, tried to steal something called the Orb of Knowledge, and Demoji and his two friends, Felix and Nerissa, tried to stop Mauserath. And basically, I just want to tell you guys the story of this. So again, for context, Septima is where they are from. Emberforge University is the school. Mauserath is the bad guy. We have Demoji, we have Felix, Demoji's best friend, and Nerissa, who is Demoji's childhood friend. This is an excerpt of the story of the Orb of Knowledge and Mauserath that I included in my podcast, in one of my podcasts, the private one for Ko-fi. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Despite its storied past, the Orb of Knowledge has always been a coveted prize, not just for its wisdom, but for the boundless power it bestows. Many have sought to possess it, but none more dangerous than Mauserath. His obsession with the orb would lead him to risk everything, including the sanctity of Emberforge University. To understand the magnitude of his assault and the chaos it unleashed, we must first explore the dark and twisted path that led him to this pivotal moment in Septima's history. Mauserath was born into the kingdom of Alicornus, one of the many realms created by Atheron at the dawn of light. Alicornus was a land renowned for its nobility and grace, home to alicorns, unicorns, and pegasi, creatures of unparalleled beauty and honor. But Mauserath was unlike the beings of his homeland. Born as one of the lower life forms of Alicornus, Mauserath bore little resemblance to the noble creatures of his kingdom. He walked upright on two legs, his lanky, malformed body covered in a sickly greenish-gray skin. His horns, long and twisted, only added to his grotesque appearance. Ridiculed and scorned, he grew up as an outcast, the subject of mockery and disdain. While others of Alicornus embodied nobility, Mauserath seethed with resentment. Determined to rise above his station and claim the power he believed was rightfully his, Mauserath turned to theft and treachery. He became infamous across the abyssal ocean for stealing ancient texts, grimoires, and scrolls from kingdoms surrounding Septima. He was no longer just a petty thief. His stolen knowledge of forbidden magics transformed him into a formidable sorcerer. His lust for power only grew. Mauserath sought to make those who ridiculed him suffer and to establish himself as a force to be feared. The turning point came on a fateful night when he infiltrated the inner sanctum of Alicornus and stole a sip of the Alicorn's potion, a powerful and guarded elixir that bestowed wings and the magic of the Alicorns. The potion imbued him with immense power, granting him flight and abilities far beyond his natural potential. But even this newfound power wasn't enough for Mauserath. He wanted more. He set his sights on the ultimate prize, the Orb of Knowledge. The artifact promised everything Mauserath craved: dominion over magic, control over time, and the ability to rewrite his wretched existence. One moonless night, Mauserath slipped past the wards of Emberforge University, his stolen magic cloaking him in shadows. With cunning precision, he infiltrated the Grand Arcanum vault where the Orb of Knowledge was housed. But as he approached the artifact, his greed betrayed him. He tripped a magical alarm that had been woven into the vault's protection. What followed was chaos. Professors and students awoke to find the hallowed halls of the university transformed into a battleground. Malzerath, armed with stolen magic and centuries of knowledge, unleashed an onslaught of power that none could withstand. He was relentless, his long-forgotten years as a mocked outcast fueling his wrath. Despite their valiant efforts, the defenders of Emberforge were no match for Malzerath. It was said that his stolen alicorn magic alone could bring armies to their knees, and with the orb of knowledge within his grasp, it seemed all hope was lost. Yet, in this moment of despair, a light emerged, a light that would forever change the course of Septima's history. Felix of Veraduna, a student in his final year of his doctorate at Emberforge University and Demoji's closest friend, was known for his unwavering courage and brilliance. Felix had always been a steadfast presence in Demoji's life. Earlier that day, Felix, Demoji, and Demoji's childhood friend Nerissa had been buried in research at the university library, scouring tomes for spells and strategies to defend against rising threats. It was then that Demoji noticed a curious, dusty grimoire tucked away in a dim corner, its leather-bound cover marked with unfamiliar sigils. The book looked as though it had no place in the library's collection. Its aura was unsettling, yet irresistibly alluring. "Look at this," Demoji whispered, pulling the heavy tome from the shelf. As he flipped through the pages, a chill ran down his spine. The contents were unlike anything he'd ever seen. Dangerous, forbidden spells that seemed to hum with latent power. One spell in particular caught his attention, the Aetherius Nexus Seal. According to the text, it could banish even the most powerful being to the Onyx Vale, a nightmarish prison said to be an endless abyss of suffering and isolation. "Demoji, put it back," Felix warned, sensing the unease in his friend's expression. But curiosity overpowered reason. When no one was looking, Demoji slipped the grimoire into his backpack. Later that evening, in the privacy of his dorm, Demoji pored over the book's pages, captivated by the knowledge within. He knew the grimoire had no business being in the hands of a student, let alone his own, but he couldn't stop himself. By the time he read the final words of the Aetherius Nexus Seal, his hands were trembling. The sheer power of the spell terrified him, and he shoved the book under his bed, vowing to forget about it. But that vow was broken mere hours later. Demoji awoke to the sounds of screams echoing through the halls of Emberforge. The air was thick with the scent of smoke and the crackling of shattered wards. Malzerath was attacking. Grabbing his wand and the grimoire, Demoji raced through the chaos, his heart pounding in his chest. He found Felix and Nerissa crouched behind a pillar near the Grand Arcanum vault, their faces pale but determined. Felix fired spell after spell at Malzerath, while Nerissa desperately tried to shield them from retaliating blasts. Neither of them managed to land a single effective strike. "Demoji!" Nerissa gasped as he slid beside them. "We can't stop him," Demoji shouted, thrusting the grimoire into Felix's hand, "but this might." As Felix and Nerissa read the Aetherius Nexus Seal, their faces darkened with dread. "Are you insane?" Nerissa cried, slamming the book shut. "This spell is suicide!" "I'll do it," said Demoji, his voice trembling. "It's the only way." "No!" Nerissa screamed, tears streaming down her face. "There has to be another way." But Demoji had made up his mind. He rose to his feet, his wand steady in one hand and the grimoire open in the other. He stepped out from behind the pillar, the chaos of the battle swirling around him, and began chanting the incantation. "Demoji, stop!" Felix shouted, his voice crackling with desperation. Demoji's steps faltered. His heart raced as he neared the final words of the spell. He glanced back at his friends. Nerissa was sobbing, begging him to stop, while Felix stared at him with a mixture of fear and admiration. Then Demoji froze. The weight of the spell, the certainty of his own death, crushed him. His hands trembled, and the words caught in his throat. He couldn't do it. He dropped to his knees, defeated, as tears streamed down his face. Felix didn't hesitate. With a flash of determination, he dashed forwards, snatching the grimoire from Demoji's hands. "Felix, no!" Nerissa screamed, scrambling to reach him, but the onslaught of spells from Malzerath's forces kept her pinned behind the pillar. Felix turned to Demoji, a small, sad smile on his face. "Take care of each other," he said softly before stepping out into the open. "Felix!" Demoji cried, reaching for his friend. Raising the grimoire high, Felix chanted the words of the Aetherius Nexus seal. His voice rang out clear and unwavering, cutting through the chaos like a blade. Malzarat's eyes widened as he recognized the spell, but it was too late. A vortex of dark energy spiraled around him, pulling him towards the abyss of the onyx veil. In a blinding flash, Malzarath was gone, and so was Felix. The battlefield fell silent, save for Nerissa's anguished screams. Demoji collapsed, clutching the grimoire to his chest as tears blurred his vision. Felix's sacrifice had saved them all, but the cost was immeasurable. So that was the story, guys. That is the story of Felix and his sacrifice to save the school. If you know anything about the DemojiWorld universe lore, then I assume that you've been to the Septema.com website and also the emberforgeuniversity.com website. But if you have no idea and you feel that that story was intriguing and you want to know more, then I will leave the links in the info bar below. Septema.com is basically where you can learn more about the world that Demoji came from. There is a tour of the 7 realms of Septema, but Emberforge University is the school kind of website, and I filled it up as much as I can with loads of fun things, but there is actually an interactive sorting quiz. In Emberforge University, there are 5 houses, and it's very similar to Hogwarts, but we have 5 houses, and they all have their own names, their own colors and everything. And I did code a sorting quiz on the website, which is so much fun, so you can go ahead and take that if you want. I don't collect any data from there. It's literally just an HTML page. Like, there's no way for me to collect data or know what house you got sorted into or your answers or anything like that. The only way I can know what house you got sorted into is if you go there and hit the enroll page. It's basically just joining the mailing list, and then you can let me know what house you're in, and maybe I'll send house specific things every once in a while. But yeah, that's loads of fun. And if you really enjoy it and really are into the lore and everything, on the actual shop, the website where you can buy all the stickers that you're seeing in this video, you can also buy Emberforge University merch as well. We have hoodies, we have mugs, we have t-shirts. It is so much fun. I absolutely love it. I wear my Emberforge University t-shirt all the time, and yeah. And if you guys are curious to know what house Demoji and Felix are in, and also Nerissa, then you're going to have to go and find out on one of the websites. It's all there. And spoiler alert, I'm in the same house as Demoji, obviously. To be completely transparent, I coded the quiz so that the majority of the answers that I would answer are the ones that Demoji would answer. So if you haven't worked it out by now, guys, from just, being here on this channel for a while and hearing me speak about Demoji, Demoji is pretty much, his personality is pretty much an extension of mine, but it is all of my good qualities and none of my bad qualities. Demoji is basically a perfect version of me. And maybe that's a bit I just heard that back, and I think that's a bit narcissistic maybe. But like, I don't know, I just feel like he's the person that I'm striving to be like. He is my inspiration, my role model, my idol, and I just want to be more like Demoji, so I created someone who I could really look up to. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to let the rest of the podcast run now. And if you're interested in the podcast, I will leave the links below as well. In the wake of Felix's heroic sacrifice, the Orb of Knowledge remained secure. But the faculty of Emberforge University and the Demon Council knew the artifact could no longer exist as a single entity. The attack proved that even the most fortified vault was vulnerable to those driven by ambition and malice. Over the course of several days, the realm's most powerful sorcerers convened and reached a momentous decision. The orb of knowledge would be split into 7 shards, each embodying a distinct aspect of its vast power. These shards would be hidden across the 7 realms, ensuring that the orb's full might could never again be concentrated in one place.